Welcome to another explainer. You know that feeling when you're looking at beautifully curated but incredibly expensive educational materials and you just think, I really wish I could just make these myself? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're unlocking the secrets to crafting high-quality DIY educational tools using modern AI. Specifically, we're talking about Montessori nomenclature cards, also known as three-part cards. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have a concrete, actionable workflow to design, generate, and print these powerful learning tools right from your own home or classroom, completely bypassing the high costs of niche educational materials.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our syllabus for today's explainer. We're covering the Montessori card magic, the anatomy of a card set, the AI design workflow, mapping the natural world, and finally, the three-period lesson. Let's get right to it.
Starting us off with Section 1, the Montessori card magic.
Before we actually start building anything, we really need to understand the foundational educational psychology behind this specific method. Why go through all the effort to make them? Well, this quote grounds us perfectly. Montessori nomenclature cards are a system for teaching children new vocabulary. It's as simple as that. That is their primary goal. These aren't just pretty pictures to look at, they provide a highly systematic, proven way for children to learn and internalize specific terms across a massive variety of subjects.
So what exactly are they? Nomenclature or three-part cards are basically a self-correcting educational tool, and you'll notice they feature these isolated images set right against plain white or cream backgrounds. That part is absolutely crucial for cognitive focus. By removing busy, distracting backgrounds or cluttered scenes, the child's attention just zeroes in entirely on the specific concept being taught. Plus, they're designed for multi-level vocabulary acquisition. This means they actually adapt to a child's current developmental stage, whether you've got a total non-reader or an emerging reader on your hands.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this concept of control of error. Honestly, it's one of the absolute most significant benefits of the Montessori method. Control of error just means the system has an internal answer key built right into it. It allows a child to independently check their own work and correct their mistakes without needing an adult to constantly hover over them or intervene. It's an absolute game changer for fostering deep self-reliance and confidence.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a Card Set.
To move from the why to the what, let's look at the actual structure, and this brilliantly illustrates how every single topic, let's say the parts of a frog, utilizes three specific components, which of course is why they're called three-part cards. First up, you have the control card. This contains an intact picture of the object with the word printed clearly right underneath it. This acts as that answer key we just talked about. Second is the picture card, which shows only the image. That one is used for matching and is perfect for your non-readers. Finally, the label card is a separate little slip showing only the printed word, which is used by emerging readers to practice their reading skills. Now, to make these truly effective, you've got to follow some pretty strict visual rules. First, stick to standard 3x5 or 4x6 index card sizes. But here is the most critical rule of the whole shebang. You must use one consistent illustration style per set. Seriously, if you start with a realistic botanical illustration, do not mix in flat vector art or watercolors for the next card in that deck. It just confuses the child. Keep the backgrounds plain, use a super simple sans serif font so the letters are easy to read, and consider color coding by subject. You know, like a small green border for botany or blue for zoology. It really helps kids sort their collections later on.
Okay, here is where the fun begins. Section 3, the AI design workflow. All right, here is your actionable step-by-step tutorial to bypass those crazy high prices for niche materials. Step 1, pick a topic and list out about 4 to 8 specific vocabulary items. Step 2, fire up ChatGPT, Gemini, Canva Magic Media, Midjourney, whatever you prefer, and prompt the AI. Just remember to use the exact same style descriptor for every single image in your set. Step 3, download those images, drop them into a digital template like Google Slides or Word that's sized to your cards, and type in your simple text labels. Finally, Step 4, print them on sturdy cardstock for durability, laminate them, and cut them out. You can even grab one of those cheap corner rounder punches for a really professional finish.
Oh, and here is a massive pro tip, a crucial design secret when you're doing your AI prompting. Always generate the whole object first. For example, if you're making a set for the parts of a butterfly, get your whole butterfly generated first to use as your main control image. Then generate the isolated parts, the wing, the antenna, the thorax, as their own individual images, using the identical style words from your first prompt. Doing it this way guarantees absolute visual consistency across the entire deck. Which brings us to Section 4, Mapping the Natural World.
The sheer breadth of what you can create here is just mind-blowing. You can do sets for biological kingdoms, like mammals versus insects. You can do the classic parts of sets, literally mapping out everything from the cephalothorax of a spider to the cotyledon of a seed to the webbed foot of a frog. You can illustrate entire life cycles from egg to caterpillar to chrysalis to butterfly. You can whip up parent and baby matching sets like cow and calf or kangaroo and joey. Honestly, you can even step outside biology entirely and do geography landforms, islands, peninsulas, isthmuses, you name it.
So, you've printed all these gorgeous sets, and they're sitting on the shelf. How do different developmental stages actually interact with them? Well, non-readers are going to focus purely on visual matching. They just take their picture cards and place them right next to the intact control card images. But emerging readers, they take it a step further. They place the picture cards down, practice reading by matching the separate label cards underneath them, and then, here's the magic, they flip over the control card to independently self-check their own work.
And that leads us perfectly into our final segment, Section 5, the 3-period lesson.
This is the specific teaching method that brings it all together. The 3-period lesson moves a child systematically through 3 distinct phases. Imagine we're teaching the word petal. In the first period, naming, you establish the connection. You point to the picture and say clearly, this is a petal. Then, in the second period, recognition, you test that association. You place a few different cards down and ask, show me the petal. And if they've got that down, let's move to and see how this builds to the dramatic climax of the lesson, recall. In this third period, you point to the card and simply ask, what is this? This is the ultimate test of the child's internalized knowledge. When they can look at that isolated image and independently produce the word petal out loud, you know that vocabulary is truly theirs.
So the crucial point is that you now possess the blueprint to create a literally infinite library of high-quality, targeted educational materials. With just a little bit of clever prompting and some cheap cardstock, the entire universe is practically at your fingertips. What corner of the natural world will you empower a child to discover today? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Get out there, start creating, and happy learning.